Hello, John Owens here, Principal Business Mentor at John Owens International, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode 5 of the Business Breakthrough video series. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about the 3-hat trick. Well, it should be called the 3-hat trick, but it usually ends up being the 3-hat error. Let's get started, and I'll explain why. Every time a businessman or woman sets up an incorporated business, they immediately take on 3 key roles, which are shareholder, director, and executive. And you may say, so what? But the fact is that quite often they don't realize that they've assumed these 3 key roles, and as a result, they get left undone. And that's got repercussions for the business. Now, the first of these roles is shareholder. As soon as you invest any money in an incorporated business, you become a shareholder. You own shares in this business, and the question you should be asking is, what return is it going to give me on my investment? And if the answer is none or very little, then you should take your money out. At one time I would have said take it out and put it in a bank, but not a good idea now. Maybe take it out and buy some bitcoins or gold. Now, although when you put your money in, you become a shareholder, this will come as a surprise to many people. Shareholders do not own the business or anything in it. What they do own are shares in the company, and this gives them the right to vote at annual shareholders meeting and to elect members to the board. Now, the next role they take on is director. Directors do not run the business, and directors do not own any part of the business. Directors are there to provide what's called governance, which is to ensure that the business is run correctly and meets all of its legal and statutory obligations. And then there's the role of executive. And it is the executives that manage the business on a daily basis. Now, there is confusion in many quarters about the difference between directors and executives. I like to look at it like this. The directors are like the referees on a playing field. They know all the rules, and their job is to make sure that the players abide by the rules. But they never take part in the game. They're not allowed to. And then the executives, they are the players on the field. They run the business. But they're responsible for running the business in accordance with the rules. And if they don't, then the directors, the referee, is there to call them to account, and they can send them off the pitch. Now, earlier on, I said that shareholders own nothing. And this is important because some of our clients, we've actually had shareholders say they hold 1/3 stake in the company, believing they own 1/3 of the company, and then believing that everything that's in the company is partly theirs, and coming in and taking things out of the warehouse. Well, this is not called anything else other than theft, because the company is an entirely different legal entity to them. Everything in the limited company belongs to it and cannot be taken without the correct permissions, and shareholders have no rights to these. So be warned. Now, I also said that directors do not run the business. And this, again, I have seen where directors do come in. And one of our clients, she was the director of the company, but she came in and it was a hotel, and she started telling the staff what to do. Now, as a director, she thought she was a shareholder if she owned the business. A director, she thought she had great power. And she had no right to be telling the staff what to do because all she was there for was governance. And she was overriding the manager, not good for the business, and caused chaos. Now, the role that most people who start up businesses play in the business are as business experts. Now, it could be that you've set up a fitness company, you've incorporated, and you are the main person there who's doing all the fitness training. That's fine, but that's your business, that's your operational role within the business. But because you've incorporated, you've got a responsibility to be the executive, to be the CEO, to make sure that your business is on target and growing, and to look after the finances. You've got a responsibility as a director to make sure that your business is operating legally. And you have a responsibility to yourself as a shareholder to make sure that the business is giving you a fair return on investment. And if it's not, then you ought to look at it, because you ought not be doing it if you're not getting a fair return. In all of these roles, they must be carried out actively. So you can't just be an executive by name. You really have to hold management meetings, and these ought to be held once a week with your team. And your team could be yourself and even some assistants, online assistants, or one or two other people. But you need to bring your team together at least once a week to let them know what's happening, where you're going, what your strategy is, and how you're going to get there. As a director, you ought to hold board meetings once a month, and this is to make sure that you're on track. And this, here you sit and you ask yourselves questions, because you could in fact be playing two roles. You could be attending as the CEO, but you need to be a board member to actually hold the CEO to account. Now, if you're not used to board meetings, it's very useful to have an external advisor on your board. And this is a role we play for many small to medium businesses, because they need help in knowing what the board can do and how the board can help them grow. And a good board is really a great help in getting you accelerated to where you want to be and carrying your vision and your message to the world. Now, shareholder meetings are held once a year, and all the shareholders are invited to attend, and they are chaired by the chairman of the board. And here, the board answers to the shareholders and says, it says, are you giving us a return on our investment? Now, you're playing many roles, but are you paying yourself? Well, you've got to. As a shareholder, you want a commercial return on the money you've invested into the business, and your business must be returning that to you. As a director, you should be paying yourself director's fees for the tasks that you carried out on behalf of the board. As an executive, you ought to be paying yourself a salary. If you're the CEO, you should pay yourself a salary as a CEO. And then you're the business expert. And as the business expert, you ought to be paying yourself a good commercial rate for what you're doing. You should never forget that the incorporated business is not you. The money in it is not yours. So make sure you pay yourself. That's the only way you can get the money out. And remember, the business is there to serve you. It's there to serve you. And as a vehicle for paying you, but also as a vehicle for carrying your message to the world. But the incorporated business is not you. Pay yourself, pay yourself, pay yourself. Now, early on, I talked about governance, and just to make it clear, I've left a definition in here, so please read that at your leisure. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening. If you need to contact me about anything in this video, or you want to talk to me about how the board advisory role can really help accelerate your business growth, then contact me, john@jo-international.com. If you like the video, please click like below and leave a comment. And if you want to receive the next video in the series straight to your email, fill in the contact box below giving your name and your email. I really look forward to connecting you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.